When we hear road safety, we probably think mainly about driving.
But road safety is about all road users, including kids on bikes, skateboards, scooters, or as pedestrians.
The Australian Road Safety Foundation has developed Roadset.
It's a free online learning tool designed for Year 9 students.
Combining animations and gamified interactions, it makes kids better road users before they get their Ls.
Download it now for free at roadset.com.au.
Hello, I'm Russell White from the Australian Road Safety Foundation and welcome to Roadset. Roadset is a free online interactive learning experience and educational tool aimed at Year 9 students, designed to help young people become better road users and making Australian roads safer for everyone. During this webinar, I want to take you through the program and demonstrate just how easy it is to use and how you can integrate this resource into your class or school activities. We'll also hear from some very special guests to get their insights on learning, road safety, and how this program can be used in the educational environment. Before we get into those areas, it might be timely to address two fundamental questions. Firstly, why road safety, and why should we be addressing this at a Year 9 level? So firstly, why road safety? Well, it might be timely to look at a few facts. Since records commenced in 1925, there have been more than 190,000 deaths on Australian roads. And every year, around 1,200 people are killed on the roads right around the country. For every fatality, another 20 to 30 people are seriously injured or hospitalised. Road trauma also results in massive social and emotional cost. And of course, on top of that, there's an economic cost where it's estimated that road crashes cost this country around $31 billion per annum. Road trauma is also the biggest killer of Australian children aged between 1 and 14. This last fact alone highlights the critical need to look at new innovations for road safety and education and why it needs to be seen as a vital area in early childhood learning and deal with it in a more holistic way. The next question is why Year 9? Why do we need to look at Roadset for this particular cohort? Well, we need to remember that road safety isn't just about drivers, it's about all road users. And this process starts with how a person thinks and acts as a pedestrian, cyclist, skateboard rider, scooter rider, or even as a passenger. Roadset aims to create a better level of understanding to road safety and the road risks well before a person starts to get behind a steering wheel. Historically, most road safety education is primarily focused at the learner-driver stage. In many cases, a person's philosophy on road use and road safety may already be well entrenched by that stage. Therefore, we need to start road safety awareness early and establish strong philosophies at the pre-learner stage. This allows us to start to influence improvement in road awareness and road safety behaviours. As educators, you would know already firsthand just how the learning process works and how skills are learnt at an earlier stage can translate as a person matures. Learning essentially builds on learning. As with sport or with music, we can appreciate that each activity has fundamental skills that a person must practice daily in order to achieve a degree of mastery. A learning framework of this nature allows a person to operate at a higher level because they don't have to consciously think about how they do something. It has become ingrained through spaced repetition. As a mentor of mine used to say, practice is great, it's knowing what to practice. So what are the key benefits of Roadset? Well, Roadset's the first step in a journey towards changing the current paradigms that we have around road safety education. It's an initiative of the Australian Road Safety Foundation with funding provided by the Australian Government, and therefore it's a totally free resource. Roadset transforms the way road safety education is delivered. The program takes students on an engaging, self-guided learning journey, helping them to develop their road safety awareness skills across a range of conditions, environments and scenarios. Educators can implement Roadset with a degree of flexibility. The program can be delivered in one lesson or over a period of lessons. Resources, such as the student activity worksheet, can be implemented in a way that works best for your class. Roadset is uniquely different and nationally focused, appealing to the learning styles of all different individuals with activities that are aligned to the Year 9 and 10 Australian curriculum. It can also be easily integrated into health and physical education learning area or run as a separate wellbeing or road safety education program. The program uses gamified learning interactions to look at risk situations and raise situational awareness to issues like human factors that can influence road safety outcomes. So, let's take a closer look.
Introducing Roadset, an initiative from the Australian Road Safety Foundation and the Australian Government that's transforming how we deliver road safety education. Road trauma is the leading cause of death among young Australians. So we created a free, interactive digital tool to help Year 9 students across the country make safer choices when using the road. Roadset incorporates key road awareness philosophies with cognitive and behavioural insights specific to teens, original animation, and gamified learning interactions to deliver an immersive, memorable educational experience. Designed to align with the Australian curriculum, Roadset is free to use anytime and from any device. Featuring 10 modules focused on pedestrians, passengers, cyclists, rideables, and becoming a driver. Roadset helps students hone their skills across a range of road conditions, environments, and scenarios. Roadset, empowering young Australians to become better, safer road users. Learn more at roadset.com.au.
So now that we've set the stage a little, let's start taking a closer look as to why road safety is such a critical thing and why it has to be a must-do, not just a nice thing to do. Joining me on the line now is Melissa McGuinness from Youth Road Safety, or You Choose Youth Road Safety, I should say. Melissa, so great to see you, and thanks so much for joining us here for Roadset. Maybe just to start off, can you give us a little bit of background as to, I guess, why road safety is such a critical thing for you?
Yeah, sure. In 2012, my 18-and-a-half-year-old son, Jordan Hayes McGuinness, was driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And just after midnight, he hit a stationary car that was broken down on the side of the M1, and that car contained 5 young adults. And as a result of that collision, the car went careening up the guardrail, and that car exploded into flames. And as a result of that collision, 4 of those 5 occupants were killed. So naturally, these were choices that my son made to drink and drive that night and to speed. So I'm a very passionate advocate of, helping kids to understand, reasons that you don't behave like this when you're behind the wheel of a car. They have dire effects and so many families can be affected.
And clearly that incident has changed your life and your family's life, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I often think that woman I was back before Jordan's crash, that woman no longer exists. My family has changed. Jordan's legacy has changed. Everything has changed from that night. And I guess if I was to think back about prior to Jordan's crash, I definitely was one of those people that road safety wasn't really on my radar of things that I thought about daily. I would listen to the news and I actually became quite desensitised about road safety, and I definitely would have thought I was one of those people that said, this sort of thing doesn't happen to me. This sort of stuff happens to other people's families. And I think now my thought pattern around road safety is so much different, being on the receiving end of what it feels like, not only to lose a loved one, but for your loved one to make such poor choices that night that had such a catastrophic ripple effect through the community, the greater community, particularly around the Gold Coast. I sort of think now that, and it's something that I didn't even consider, that, when you are driving around in your vehicle, so easily your car could become your coffin, or it could become someone else's coffin. And I think that's something that I think about a lot now, just how easily that it can happen.
And clearly, for every single road user, we need to look at expanding education. And I know the work that you do with You Choose Youth Road Safety does that. Obviously, in Jordan's case, would better education and I guess a more holistic approach to education about those risks on the road. Could that have made an impact or changed things, you think?
I believe 100% that it could have made a difference to Jordan's driving behaviours. And I think that as the kids are going through their school years and they're very influenced by their peers, I think it's a very important topic to be discussed between the students and their peers, and that I think the more education you can get around road safety, and even from an earlier age, I think, and I'm not an expert, that the earlier that you start that education, and that also that talking about road safety is a shared responsibility. I know that I owe it to every single person on the road. You owe it to every single person on the road. But it goes deeper than that, because road trauma affects so many people that we need to think about driving in context with our loved ones, and what it's going to be like for our loved ones if something happens to you. And I think sometimes if our drivers really thought about that and really thought about what it would be like for their families, they might change that driving behaviour. So things that are confronting, education that's confronting, I think is an absolutely perfect segue into driving.
And I know Jordan was very much a sports person, and I've often used examples in my, in the work that we've done, either together or through the work that we've done with the foundation, that, we need to treat driving and being on the road, however that is, whether it's a cyclist or a pedestrian or even as a passenger, we've got to look at that staged approach, just like we do with sport. And how do we better train people to get to that stage? Because it's about providing them the right framework to not only understand, but also those critical things to practice as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And when I'm doing my presentations to students, I often show them this hideous photo of me, and I'm visibly upset. My eyes are red, I've been crying, and I say to those students, I want you to have a look at this photo, because this is what your mother, your father, your brothers and sisters are going to look like for days, weeks, years, months to come. If something happens to you, this is why your parents nag. And then I set them this challenge and I say, I want you to absorb what that photo means to you. And I'm going to set you a specific challenge. Every single time your key goes in that ignition and your bum hits that car seat, you think about your family looking and feeling like this photo of me, knowing that you are in control of the choices that you make, and know that you are in control of a dangerous weapon. And, I often think holding a steering wheel in your hand is probably the most dangerous weapon that you're going to ever hold, and it needs to be treated like that. As I always say, so easily, your car can become your coffin.
And we just really don't, I guess, in the past history point of view, we really don't talk to the kids much about consequence. And as you've just put so beautifully there, it's thinking about it's not just the risk of a fine, it's not just the risk of maybe hurting yourself, but it's the impact you might have on your family and friends and ultimately your whole community.
Absolutely. And I question the kids sometimes when I'm speaking to them, and there's a little bit of a culture around let's do it and hope you don't get caught by the police. Maybe you've drunk and you're just going to drive 3 kilometres around the corner. It's okay to do it because there won't be a police between here and 3 kilometres. And I say it's not about, that's not the thought process that these kids need. It's about, if you do that and you drive drunk or you break the law or you drive recklessly, whatever that means, using your mobile phone, whatever, if you kill someone, life for you is not going to be pleasant, not to mention what it is like, what it's going to be like for the families of victims, or just, your friends or your loved ones that you might inadvertently kill by making your stupid choice. So I absolutely think about discussing road trauma in context with the values of love, family and empowerment. And I think those are important things to do. If you're old enough to get your licence, you should be old enough to really respect what it means to hold that wheel in your hand in context with not only your own loved ones, but knowing that every single car out there on our roads has somebody's loved one in it.
And I think the other point too probably is to understand that responsibility equally applies if they're riding a push bike or if they're using the road in any sense, isn't it?
Or if they're a passenger, absolutely. When you use a road, it is so important that you think about every action, how you ride your bike, even as a pedestrian using your phone whilst trying to cross the road. Roads are dangerous. They're really dangerous, and they have to be treated with care.
I know you do a lot of work in this space and sharing your message and trying to do everything you can to not let the situation that happened to you and your family happen to other people. I guess if you had to sum up in just a phrase, what would be your message to young road users if it was just a really single sentence message?
I'd use our motto, which is own the choice, own the outcome.
And that's so true, isn't it? It really rests with us as road users. Melissa, as I said, I know you do an enormous amount of work. I know you're a very busy lady, and I know your family's still very busy with the whole Youth Road Safety Program. I want to thank you very much for your support with Roadset, and please obviously keep up the great work that you're doing, and thanks for your time today.
It is my absolute pleasure. Thank you, Russell.
Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, Melissa McGuinness, an amazing lady with an incredible story and a huge passion to try and get the message out to as many people as possible that road safety is a critical issue, that what your actions are, what you choose to do on the road can not only have an impact on yourself, but many other people as well. Well, to explore the educational process for middle year students in a little more detail, I'd like to introduce our next guest. Angela White is the Chief Executive Officer of Adolescent Success. Adolescent Success is a not-for-profit association for teachers, schools and businesses and other educators who care about young adolescents' education in their middle years. Angela, it's so great to see you, and thanks for joining us today on Roadset. Maybe just give us a little bit more background about Adolescent Success and the type of work that you do.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Russell. Adolescent Success, we used to be called the Middle Years of Schooling Association, founded here in Queensland, but we're actually a national association, and we exist simply because the middle years are such a crucial time in schooling for students, and they're the muddle in the middle, really. They're not primary students and they're not high school students yet. They're that 10 to 15 year age group where there's just so much going on for them that has an impact on their education and their schooling. So we're there to support teachers, educators, consultants, anybody that works with that age group. And yes, we support them in their professional development, and we lobby and advocate for that age group.
And you just mentioned something really interesting there. You're right, that middle phase really is a transitional phase, I guess, from going from those earlier stages of learning through to that more higher order adult education. I guess, does that present certain challenges for how young people at that age do learn or do take on board new information?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's more or less why we exist, to keep getting that message across that, you know, it's such a critical time, as we know now, in brain development. They're developing physically, cognitively, psychologically, ethically. They're just developing in so many different ways, and they all coincide at that same time frame of 10 to 15 years. And of course, they're developing at different rates. So they're not all developing at the same time. So you can see a huge range in development in those years. And that has a massive impact on how they learn. Very different to, you know, an older student that can separate subjects and so on and specialise. The middle years really, you know, we advocate for a curriculum which is collaborative, exploratory, relevant, you know, and for that age group it needs to be integrative and appealing. So the thing for us really is around that relevance. And that's one of the things we love about Roadset, is that it meets the students where they like to learn, which is that online environment, and very much sits in the area of being highly relevant to that age group. So therefore, we believe they engage much more if they can see the relevance.
And again, that's a really interesting point. I know when we were looking at developing the program, it was very much based on the view of how does the end user actually see this, or how does the teacher use it, rather than coming at it from a more dictatorial way or a more authoritative way. Is how do you get the kids to engage with it at that, that really user-friendly level that they're going to react to. And we did notice certain things about how the program would look and the characters that were used. And I guess we did use a little bit of, that storytelling and gamification. Is that another critical area that you're seeing more and more becoming even more relevant in a young person's development?
Absolutely, and always in those middle years, those pre-teen years, it's always been important for the curriculum to be relevant, but more so today, that relevance actually means, a lot of time digital or a gaming environment, because that is highly engaging for young adolescents, much more so than when you and I were at school. We engaged, engagement for us would have looked a bit different. We might have wanted to get outside, we might have wanted to do job experience, but today, that is highly relevant, and it really does meet them where they like to learn. It's a great resource, we feel, for young adolescents. And also meeting them, just talking about that brain development. We know so much about that now, that the brain develops from the back forward, and that prefrontal cortex is the last part of our brain to develop. And some people say that's not until you're 24, 25, even older. And so, students at that age level really are dealing with a not properly formed prefrontal cortex. And of course, that area of your brain is responsible for consequences, for understanding consequences. So you've got students at this age level with a brain that's highly wired for high risk taking and not yet wired for understanding consequences to your actions. So we see that all the time in this age group where they want to do risky things, but they don't understand the consequences of their actions. And that can go from small minor decisions they make right up into, life-changing decisions. And so we really advocate for teachers in that year level. Really, the important thing for them is to have factual information so that they're presented with the facts that they need at this age group, and done in a way that's engaging to them and that they'll really switch on to and listen to. Because while that part of the brain's under development, we really need to be reminding them of the risk-taking, of the fact of how do you take risks but be safe. And the road, as we know, not just cars, but electric scooters and everything that goes with the road now is an area that can be dangerous.
And you mentioned that about risk and how they perceive risk. I guess it's also important to show, what those consequences could be, but do it in a way that's not, sort of going to have a negative effect on the student, but engage them as to what that risk is and how they can start to see those situations. At a time when they probably weren't aware of that before the program like Roadset came out.
That's right. And the thing is, they don't know what they don't know. And so, something like Roadset that shows them what those consequences might be in a way that's not scaring them, because that can switch them off from learning as well, that actually empowers them to make decisions and to follow the characters and to engage in the process, is really probably a great way for them to learn about road safety.
And just on that subject too, I know probably from a historic standpoint, had you seen much road safety education for that cohort prior to Roadset? I mean, I know we do a lot for people as they're getting their licences. We tend to compress a lot of that learning around the year 11 and 12 time frame, but we generally don't really see much expansion on that before that, do we?
No, that's right. And I think you're very wise in bringing this program to this age group, because the middle years school curriculum is the perfect place to introduce the concept of road safety, because as I said earlier, the students develop at different rates as well. So catching, students that really, do need this information earlier, but they're also using the road in different ways as well now with, electric scooters, skateboards and things like that, that it really is to have that mindfulness around what can potentially happen before they're in a position of sitting their licence is really critical. And I think that's one of the great things about this program.
And I think the other thing we tried to do with that too was to give them some more baseline fundamental skills, so that when they eventually do become a driver, and that might be another year or two down the track for them, but I know in post-licence training we used to find a lot that you'd get new drivers, they're dealing with so much new information, not only the basics of moving the vehicle around, but suddenly how their own situational awareness works. And we've really found that, I guess as time has gone on, there's a deficiency there for many young drivers to really have a complete holistic view of what that road environment looks like. So do you think also painting that scene earlier, at an earlier stage, can potentially translate into those people before they get behind the wheel?
Absolutely. And, while better that they understand the risks and consequences of what could happen before, I'd rather they learnt that in a way that's engaging for them early on than the first time that they're assessing road risk is when they're actually behind the wheel of the vehicle. Much better for them to practice assessing risk, because essentially that's what they're doing. They're practicing risk assessment. Better for them to do that in a safe environment, but one that is engaging and one that they do enjoy interacting with before they're in the position of that, life and death situations, which can happen in a moment, as you know.
Absolutely. And I guess too that can also be a huge benefit as a passenger. They can have a positive influence on whether that's a parent or a friend, if they've had an engagement with some of those potential risks, and how they could be a positive influence on a person's performance. That passenger role is often overlooked, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I'm sure that the risks go up the more young people that are in a vehicle. Just thinking from a developmental point of view for adolescents, that once you're driving, if you've got mates in the car, I think, the dangers increase. And so if you've got passengers in there that are mindful of what what can happen and how to avoid things like that, then I think that's really, really important.
Well, Angela, I really appreciate your time. It's great to see you as always, and certainly keep up the great work with adolescent success. And thanks for joining me today on Roadset, and thanks for your support.
Thanks, Russell.
Angela White there, the Chief Executive Officer of Adolescent Success. Well, always with programs of this nature, it's important to look at the results, I guess the interactions that people are having actually at the coalface at a school when they're using a program like Roadset. John Paul College was one of the very first schools to sign up for the Roadset program, and joining us from John Paul College is Head of Year James Easthope. James, thanks so much for joining us today on Roadset.
No worries. Thank you for having me, Russell.
Mate, I know when we first started talking, we were talking about, I guess, the impact that road trauma has for young people. But I guess, did it shock you to learn that road trauma was the biggest killer of young Australians aged between 1 and 14?
Yeah. To be honest, the day I met you was the day, actually that was the time that I learned of that pretty scary statistic. I guess learning about that helps me. I guess it empowers me, allows me to know, okay, this is what we need to focus on, especially as a head of year. The safety and the well-being of my cohort is that's paramount. That's my main role. And so knowing that those are this is the area that we need to focus in terms of striving to save students, I guess it empowers me. Scary, shocking statistics that I definitely didn't know that. And I guess we have been focusing on different things to keep the safety of our students, but I guess knowing that statistic helps to turn our heads to make sure that we're focusing on the right things. So yeah, scary statistic, but good for us to make sure we're focusing on the right things.
Do you think road safety previously had been, I guess, as part of an overall curriculum, right from prep through to year 9, do you think road safety had received much attention historically?
Look, I can only speak from my experience. The the focus that I've seen us have is down in the younger levels. Not that I'm part of the primary school years, but I know, having children of my own, they do, they speak of it, and there is some sort of coverage of that area, road safety. But I guess from more personal experience, we cover a unit. It's a very short unit, and it's actually a part of quite a bigger unit of safety in general, where road safety is covered. However, in that unit, road safety is one of 6 segments in that major unit. We cover a lot of other things, and so I guess, coming back to my previous comment, it helps to know that statistic helps us to know we probably need to be focusing on that a lot more. I don't think that it's covered, at least according to that statistic. I don't think it's covered nearly as well, and also as often as it should be. So I guess from my experience, we do cover some road safety, but there isn't a deep focus on that area. No.
Yeah, and I think, as again, just picking up on that point, there's so many things that a young person is being educated in throughout that time frame. But you're right. Sometimes it's not until you get a statistic like the one we've just mentioned that actually starts to crystallise, I guess, a degree of focus around a particular topic.
Exactly. Yeah.
So from that standpoint, then, how critical do you think something like Roadset is?
Look, yeah, it's critical. Once you know the statistic, I guess that's only the start. But being able to deliver it is a mammoth task. And hat off to you, Russell, and your team behind you that put this program together. Roadset, at least we've only been using it for about a month now, getting right into it. The students are loving it. I guess Roadset as a program has been, from a teacher standpoint, it's been something that can autonomously be done by the students, and we can come by and possibly share real experiences and real situations to support what is being shown and what's being delivered to the students through Roadset, that program. So the importance of that program, I think, is it's enormous. But I guess from my point of view, that I've seen other programs around, but this one in particular, I think it has what it needs to have to engage the students in a way that allows them to autonomously work on their own, whilst the teachers are able to move freely around to offer individual support or even experience and things like that. So it's been a great tool for us so far. We've only been using it for the last month, but yeah, it's been excellent. So in terms of the importance of that program, I think it's been we've been needing it for a while.
And James, you touched on something really interesting there too, that as a teacher, I guess having that flexibility to be able to do it as a managed session or as individual sessions gives teacher a flexibility with that. But I guess it also does provide that channel, as you mentioned, to have your own personal insights or your own reflections that you can also use to, I guess, complement that interactive learning that Roadset provides.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're able to follow and support the character through the program, but then the teachers, I've seen a number of occasions where the teacher has been able to come over and actually share an experience, not too traumatic or dramatic, but share an experience that relates and connects with what they're seeing in this program. So yeah, it's been great for us.
And from the kids' standpoint, what sort of feedback have you been getting from the actual people using the system?
Look, I've tried my best to be critical of the program. I'm always, we want the best programs that we can get for our students. Safety, as I said, is my prime role for this cohort. So, I try and play the devil's advocate and say, look, how engaging really is it? Are you just telling me what I want to hear, or is it actually working for you? So I've been putting them to the test, but no, the students have been giving only good feedback. They say, the stuff we need to know. But not only, are we getting delivered it, but it's done in an engaging, and even, it's very interactive. Obviously, they're following a character around and they're striving to make decisions for the character. And for some of them, it's almost subconscious that they're learning as they go. It's more of a game like like program that educates them at the same time. So yeah, I mean, truly and honestly, my hat off to you guys for putting together the program. It's been really good for our students.
Oh, fantastic. And you think that the gamified aspect does provide that really good balance between, I guess, providing content that they can engage with and utilise, but then also get a degree of understanding from that as well?
Yeah, for sure. So the game, we're a very highly technological school. We have devices one-on-one with each of the students, but they're also allowed to bring their own device. So we're heavy technology, and I guess in catering to the clientele that we have, this is the perfect program for us because these are the kinds of students that we have. They engage with this kind of tech, the game-like things, and the interactive points that come out of this program. So yeah, look, it's been very engaging, as I said.
And I guess that's again an interesting point, given I guess where we are in a society sense at the moment, and with what's happening in the world at the moment. There's going to be, I guess, more reliance on having flexibility, on having resources that can be delivered, and I guess also having supporting material to actually help teachers deliver education in a far more diverse way than what we've, I guess, traditionally believed.
Yeah, exactly. Look, there's always going to be a place for books and for writing and all of those fundamental educational skills, for sure. But education is developing and it's evolving, and I think that Roadset and other programs, but Roadset itself has certainly moved with the times to connect with and engage with the students that we're educating today. We're evolving, and so I think that this program is an example that connects with and engages the students. Exactly what we're looking for.
So I guess, James, just in closing, if other schools, other teachers are looking at Roadset, what would your advice be? And I guess is that something that you'd be able to say, well, that's something that can be applied no matter how you intend to use it?
Yeah. Oh, look, we've only used it in 2 different settings at the moment. From a head of year point of view, we've used it in our academic welfare program as a matter of safety in general, but focusing them on, I guess, pointing them to that statistic that you shared with us about the road trauma and showing them this is really important and that's why we're engaging it. So we've gone from that standpoint, but then I've also connected with other faculties where they're starting to use this program as well to, I guess, to support the academic welfare program that we're currently delivering. So I guess it's been from, if I was to sell it to other schools and things, that it can be used in a variety of different ways, which I think can be integrated in any school setting. Schools run differently from school to school, especially in the independent sector, and so sometimes it's quite difficult to initiate or to institute a program into different schools. This program in particular, this Roadset program, I think can be instituted in any school, depending on how you want to deliver it. So I don't think this is something that has to be done a certain way. It's quite flexible and versatile, which is really important from an educational organisation standpoint.
Yeah, and that flexibility was certainly something that we wanted to engage with and made sure that we delivered to the teachers to give them that maximum degree of, I guess, capability to deliver this program as they see fit. James, it's been great to see you, my friend. We really appreciate your time today. I know it's a very busy day at John Paul College, so we'll let you get back to it. But thanks very much for joining us on Roadset.
No worries, Russell. Thank you, sir.
Talk soon. So now that we've introduced you to Roadset, let's jump over to our website to demonstrate to you how quick and simple it is to get your students started. Using Chrome as your preferred browser, visit www.roadset.com.au to have your students start their journey to becoming safer road users. Then simply click on the Get Started tab. Here, they'll be able to register by entering their first name, email address, suburb and gender. They will then enter and confirm their preferred password, select whether they belong to a school, and if so, select their school from the drop-down list. Or if they belong to another learning institute, select Other. Select their year level from the drop-down list and click the Sign Up button. The system will automatically log the user in for the journey to begin. Now at this stage, I would like to point out that it's not a requirement for an educator to register or log into the application. Of course, you are more than welcome to register and complete the modules as well alongside your students if you choose to do so. Once logged in, the students will be introduced to Charlie and the modules will appear on their desktop. Selecting each module in sequence, the application will track their progress. Students also will have the option to revisit completed modules if they choose to. So now that your students are happily working their way through the modules, let's take a look at the Educator Resource page. Here you'll find overviews of each module, learning intentions and learning activities, all supported by downloadable and printable educator resources and student worksheets. These can simply be printed and used with each module, or there is an option for you to print the entire educator pack. This allows for flexibility on how you wish to incorporate the program into your classroom schedule. Whether you want to guide your students through each module and activity, or have the students complete their self-paced journey on an independent format. You'll notice as you browse through the website that there are additional links and instructional videos to assist you even further. We also offer educational webinars, which can be arranged for individuals or schools, presented exclusively to your chosen staff at a time that is most suitable to your team. Simply select Contact Us to advise us of your preference. Well, that concludes today's session. On behalf of the Australian Road Safety Foundation and the Australian Government, I want to thank you for being part of today's session and for allowing your students to join us on this journey to becoming better and safer road users. Again, if you have any questions, contact us directly at www.roadset.com.au. Until next time, drive safely.